He was in love with Heidi. He was in love with the ideas of freedom and liberty. And for those of you that didn't know him, I wouldn't be surprised if you didn't see him and you just are not connecting a name with a face. But they just don't come any better. And the main reason that I'm here at PorcFest is just to say these few words out of respect for somebody who I dare say made a difference in all of our lives. So.
Hardy was a good friend. I've known him for a couple decades. I known him when he was in Grand Island as part of the Libertarian Party movement. He was the kind of activist we all aspired to be. He was a kind soul. I remember campaigning with him in Keene this past cycle. We spent the whole day in Keene. We spent the day making a zombie commercial with Gary Johnson. That was most memorable. But to me, the most important thing is Hardy always had a positive outlook. I've never seen Hardy mad in all the years I've known him. And let's face it, sometimes in the libertarian movement, things can get disappointing. But Hardy was always cheerful, always optimistic, always going forward. In fact, Hardy is the kind of activist I think we all should strive for, because even when he was dying, he sent a message that freedom counts. That's the legacy of Hardy, is that freedom counts, and we live for that. And with Hardy, I'm going to carry that memory with me to my end. Thank you.
I met Hardy, I think I should, like Dave, I may have met him here at Escape to New Hampshire, perhaps an LP convention. A lot of us have been talking about, how long we've known him. You know, some of us have spent 10 or 12 years, a few of us have to know him longer. I said, I know not everyone here does political activism, but folks like me and Hardy did choose to take that path, and it is so easy to get burned out and worn out, but I had to admire Hardy, especially this last campaign, both for the help he gave Governor Johnson. He ran for office, which is not easy, but he was constantly out there. He recruited people, he was making commercials, he was inspiring people. I mean, I was long past burnout, and I know Hardy put in even more work than I did, and he kept a positive attitude. He participated in everything. Several people said it was inspiring. He was also a good friend, a fellow techie. You could talk about a whole bunch of different things. I remember he had already been diagnosed and had just come back very recently from a chemo treatment, and we were out doing a Gary Johnson counter-protest at the GOP, whatever they were doing at the Verizon Center. We had the laser show going, and it was awesome. And he got a bunch of college students there, and it was such a sudden, I can't even watch that video he did. I can't even watch it at this point, and I'm really sorry I missed the Memorial in Vermont. I really want to go there. Right, so Hardy he would definitely be missed. He was really an example. He did everything. As a man and as a political activist and as a candidate, and he will be missed. And if we could all do half of what he did, liberty or a lifetime is going to be no problem at all.
We have a community, and those of us that have been as part of the FSP for a long time remember when the community was very small, and we saw each other a lot. We'd have a party and everybody around the state would show up because, well, they were the people you knew. And slowly but surely, the community got bigger and bigger and bigger to the point where you don't necessarily even know everybody that's also moved for the FSP, that's involved in the liberty movement. I think that's a loss. I think we've lost a real close bond of community, of like-mindedness. We focus on the differences rather than on the similarities. We've lost some people over the last year. We lost Lloyd Danforth. We lost Denise Brown. Now, some of you may be going, I don't know who that is. Well, you should find out, because these are people that moved for liberty, that changed their lives to be here, and didn't see liberty within their lifetime, but were working on it for everybody. Well, Hardy absolutely epitomizes that. The man was nonstop, threw himself into it. He didn't care that he probably wasn't going to win. He was going to go ahead and he was going to use the platform. And he didn't want to run for Congress this last time, but he knew that somebody needed to, because I wouldn't. And he took that up even after the diagnosis, even after he wasn't feeling well. He showed up. He showed up to help Gary. He showed up to help everybody, because that's the kind of guy he was. And I still have some of his signs in my garage, because he ran for state rep and lost by a handful of votes in a year where he probably would have gotten elected as a Republican, because he did say, I'm going to go ahead and run as a Republican finally, and then he got knocked out in a primary and was like, all right, back to the LP already. I mean, he couldn't catch a break, and you know, damn it, cancer, he couldn't catch a break. It's frustrating, it makes me furious. But you know what? We have all these people who moved here, and the community goes on, and the best thing we can do is to carry on in his name, which is why we're here. So if you don't know what Hardy did, I'm going to give you just a quick couple of highlights. The man ran for governor of Vermont on a platform that basically said, lower the drinking age, legalize pot. I mean, it was extremely, he was going for the youth vote. And awesome, awesome. And eventually he said, yeah, I'm going to move to New Hampshire because this is the place to be. And he did. And he moved his business here, and he moved his life here, and he moved into Canterbury, where I live, and he was my neighbor, and he was my friend, and I represented him. And you know what? When I was there, I was representing him. Well, it's time for everybody else to represent him. So go do something in Hardy's name. Go do something for pro-liberty. Do it in Hardy's name, and that will be his legacy. Thank you.
Before he came over here. Not only did he run for governor, before that he'd run for state house, and he actually served as chair of the select board of Grand Isle, which is essentially being mayor of a little town of 5,000 people up there in the Champlain Islands. So I probably met Hardy at the 98 Hockey Convention, and then we were all at the Zero Pork Fest, and especially road trips, and what I mainly wanted to get up here to say is for everybody who knew him, we knew how dedicated and loyal he was, and we just always expected we'd be seeing him at event after event, year after year, for decades to come. And that's what I wanted to share with everybody.